Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Anu Sood and I am the Global Channel Marketing Manager at Skywave. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to the IsatData Pro satellite service, its associated family of terminals, and how this new M2M satellite service is used in the market today. But before we start, a little housekeeping. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can tweet them to us. Our handle is @SkywavMobile and the hashtag is SkywavWebinar. You'll find a reminder of our Twitter ID and the webinar hashtag at the bottom of each slide. Alright, let's get started. The agenda for today's webinar. First, I'll give you a brief introduction about Skywave, after which we will jump right in and talk about the IsatData Pro service, where we will review the specifications of the satellite service and the family of data terminals. I will briefly talk about our developer's toolkit, but spend the bulk of our time talking about the applications and assets that can be tracked, monitored, and controlled with the IsatData Pro service. For those of you who don't know who we are, Skywave is a global provider of wireless data communication services for the M2M or machine-to-machine market. We've been providing L-band-based satellite and satellite cellular terminals and airtime since 1997, so consequently we have a lot of experience in the market. In fact, through our network of solution providers, we have shipped over 600,000 satellite terminals, which is an immense testament to our success in the market. Our channel to market is working through solution providers who buy our satellite terminals and integrate sensors and other peripherals for monitoring at remote sites. Our solution providers also resell the satellite airtime and, most importantly, provide the application that takes data from the remote sites and converts it into meaningful information for end users like transportation, oil and gas, mining, and water utility companies. The main markets that use Skywave terminals are the transportation sector, so using our satellite terminals to track trucks, trailers, containers, and rail cars, especially in areas where cellular service is unavailable or unreliable. Skywave terminals are also used to track vehicles that cross country borders, so companies can still know the location of their assets without paying roaming charges. Now, the tracking of vehicles is not only done for security applications, but also logistics, where they use position information to optimize operations as well as increase competitiveness. As customers have become more sophisticated, they have adapted the terminals to be used as text messaging terminals, as well as to monitor sensors on the vehicle that track the cargo, temperature, or whether the trailer is empty or full. So applications that increase the efficiency of the fleet so they carry more cargo and reduce the operating costs. In the maritime sector, the main application for our terminals is track the location of vessels and buoys at sea where there is no other communication service. As our solution providers find new ways to bring value to customers, we're now finding that our terminals are used again for text messaging, as well as fuel and engine monitoring to increase the operating efficiency of the vessels and reduce fuel costs. And the last major segment for our terminals is monitoring and controlling fixed assets. This includes monitoring SCADA equipment for oil and gas and the utility sectors. So examples include reporting how much gas is being extracted from wells, controlling valves, monitoring compressors and generators, reporting water meter information, monitoring diesel tanks, sending data from remote weather stations, and much more. All these applications help to allow corporations to have data in real time, as well as reduce fuel, vehicle, and people costs associated with people traveling to remote sites. So this gives you a very high-level view of the sectors that we have experience in. So let's talk about the IsatData Pro satellite service. What makes IsatData Pro special is that it offers the ability to send the most amount of data at a lower cost when compared to any other satellite M2M service in the market. In fact, you can send up to 6.4 kilobytes to the terminal and receive 10 kilobytes. That is the biggest message payload capacity compared to any satellite M2M service in the world today. Messages from this two-way service are also fully acknowledged, so you can feel assured that the message will be received. Now, when it comes to the speed of the service, it is also one of the fastest services in its class, with a latency of 15 seconds for 100 bytes and 45 seconds for 1,000 bytes. Finally, IsatData Pro is a global service, so it's available for both land-based and maritime applications. There are no roaming charges, so you can move between countries and continents, and you don't have to worry about changing carriers or additional charges. One of the key advantages of the IsatData Pro service is that it can send more data in a single message. So why is this beneficial? Well, the first reason is that you have the capacity to send large files like diagnostic or prognostic information from skate equipment or heavy equipment. And the cost per byte is lower than other M2M services since the system has been designed and optimized for sending large amounts of M2M data. There are also lower costs because you're sending less packets, so less overhead. Now, compared to many other satellite M2M services, we have very low message latency. Our message is delivered in seconds as opposed to minutes or hours. Our service also offers lower latency for larger messages since you do not have to stitch together multiple small messages to create a single file. And finally, there's the reliability that the final data will be in the right order so you have a correct view of what is happening in your remote sites. What many may not know is that the design of your network can severely affect your power consumption or battery life. The IsatData Pro gateway is highly synced with the terminal. This means that the network knows exactly when the terminal is going to wake up from sleep mode and can deliver any pending messages as soon as it wakes up. So what are the benefits of this highly tuned and synchronized system? First, and by far, is power consumption. The terminal can quickly go back to sleep as soon as it receives its first messages, and with IsatData Pro, that happens immediately since the system understands the sleep schedules of all the terminals. The second power consumption benefit is that the terminal does not have to send messages to check to see if there are any messages waiting for it. So there is reduced energy consumption from the absence of mailbox checks, as well as staying awake to wait for the mailbox checks and waiting for messages or acknowledgments that there are no messages. The second major benefit is lower airtime costs. Since you are not sending a message over the satellite to check if there are any messages in the mailbox, you use less airtime, so lower airtime costs. And then there's the issue of timely message delivery. Since the gateway is highly tuned to the wake-up schedule of the terminals, messages are delivered immediately, and there are no delays from checking for mailbox messages as well as delivery of messages. The IsatData Pro satellite service also supports features like broadcasts, which allows all the terminals in a specific area to receive a message at the same time. This is particularly important for defense applications, like situational awareness, where it is important for personnel who are geographically dispersed to be aware of critical information at the exact same time without being subject to delays associated with individual messaging. This feature is also applicable in the maritime sector when you want to send weather bulletins to all vessels in a specific area. IsatData Pro supports both broadcast, where all the terminals in a satellite spot beam receive a message, or multicast, where only terminals in a specific group will receive a message. Now, the hardware terminals that support the IsatData Pro service are as follows. So we have a modem that's designed to be embedded into larger systems and can be ready to provide an immediate communication link anywhere in the world. But by far the most popular IDP hardware are the terminals. They have the IDP modem encased in environmentally sealed enclosures and include a GPS chip, inputs for digital, analog, and serial sensors, and an onboard processor to customize the behavior of the terminal. The terminals in our IDP portfolio include the IDP680 LAN terminal for tracking and managing mobile assets, as well as monitoring and controlling fixed assets. So applications include tracking vehicles, monitoring pipelines, and water meters. The C1D2 or Class 1 Division 2 version of the terminal can be used in SCADA applications like compressor monitoring or areas that require a terminal that can operate in hazardous locations. IDP690 can be used in all the same applications as the IDP680, but with the Helix antenna is better suited for maritime applications where you need a higher performance antenna. The IDP800 has a built-in compartment for rechargeable or non-rechargeable batteries. The SIM profile of the terminal is designed so that it may fit in between the grooves of trailers and containers. Finally, the IDP780 is a dual satellite cellular terminal that's designed for customers who want to leverage cellular connectivity in urban areas and satellite for remote areas. The terminal is mainly used in fleet management applications, as well as fixed installations that require redundant communications. Here are some of the basic specifications and features of the land and maritime terminal. First of all, the antenna is already enclosed into the terminal case. So within this very small form factor, you have all the satellite electronics, as well as GPS and antenna. This eases installation, as well as is extremely well suited for applications where installation real estate is a premium. The terminal is equipped with 4 general-purpose I/Os for plugging in sensors like temperature sensors or cargo door sensors. It also has an RS-232 and RS-485 interface for connecting data terminals or to communicate with sensors or equipment that support protocols like Modbus. The terminal is already environmentally sealed, so it can be installed outside as is. And finally, it already has been certified by industry for a number of applications like SAE J1455 for low dump protection for the transportation market, IEC 60945 to ensure that the terminal does not interfere with GPS navigation equipment on maritime vessels, and Class 1 Division 2 or C1D2 for use in hazardous locations for many oil and gas or SCADA applications. The IsatData Pro dual-mode satellite cellular terminal has the added benefit of a cellular modem in addition of the satellite modem. This allows the terminal to automatically switch between IsatData Pro satellite or the local cellular network depending on which communication service is available. This feature is ideal for the transportation market, which has assets moving between urban and remote regions, and customers wanting to use the most cost-effective service without sacrificing the visibility or the ability to communicate with their vehicles. We're also increasingly finding it being used in fixed asset applications, so SCADA installs where the customer wants to have redundant communications or a single communication platform that allows them to support whatever communication service is appropriate for a specific install. The terminal again has a number of I/O ports for connecting sensors and peripherals. There's also the option to have a backup battery. And finally, for security applications, the ability to detect when GPS or GSM jammers are being used in order to avoid a possible hijacking or cargo theft occurrence. The final terminal that I want to show you is our IDP800 terminal that has a very slim profile antenna with integrated batteries. The terminal runs on either 12 rechargeable or non-rechargeable AA batteries that are field replaceable. If the terminal is using rechargeable batteries, it can use the power source, like a vehicle power, to keep it charged. Like the other IDP terminals, the IDP800 has sensor and peripheral ports to connect to temperature sensors, cargo door sensors, and data terminals for communicating with the drivers. And finally, there's an accelerometer on board to check for motion. So ideal for checking when the vehicle starts and stops, as well as saving airtime costs by ensuring that the terminal is only sending position information when the vehicle is moving. The IDP series of terminals have an onboard computer, so can be programmed to create very customized solutions depending on the needs of the oil and gas, transportation, or maritime company. The programming language used is Lua, and Skywave has developed a number of tools to make this job easier and faster. For example, the Developer Studio provides the basic Lua programming toolkit and offers the baseline features common to most embedded development environments. There are a number of other tools available, including one to help with geofences, and they're all provided to Skywave solution providers at no charge. So let's talk about how IsatData Pro is being used in the transportation sector. Fleet management is by far the most prevalent application for IsatData Pro. The increased satellite payload capacity allows customers to offer more detailed position tracking in areas where there is no cellular service. With IsatData Pro, they can guarantee the security of sensitive or valuable material, route the closest vehicle to a job, or ensure the safety of employees traveling in remote areas. The digital and analog ports allow customers to connect sensors to the satellite terminals and track when cargo doors are open or the temperature of the refrigerated cargo is either too high or too low. In-cab text messaging is another big application for the transportation market. Instead of using satellite phones or pay for expensive cellular roaming, IsatData Pro allows communications between driver and dispatch. So using a mobile data terminal, you can speak to drivers who are in remote areas where previously not possible or unaffordable. Now, beyond text messages, the increased messaging capability allows companies to send more data from the field, which is ideal for workforce or workflow automation. So IsatData Pro allows servicemen to receive service tickets, transmit delivery signatures, send maintenance forms, even when in areas where there are no self-service for increased business productivity. IDP terminals can support the collection and transmission of driver logs to show compliance to government regulations. And finally, by connecting to the vehicle bus system, as well as tracking how the vehicle is being driven, IsatData Pro can be used to monitor the performance of the vehicle to reduce maintenance costs. It can also be used to ensure that the drivers are operating their vehicles safely for their own safety, as well as to reduce the likelihoods of accidents that can be detrimental to the finances of the business. For the maritime sector, we're seeing IsatData Pro being used for applications that are very similar to the land. Like fleet management, vessel tracking is about allowing customers to have more detailed position tracking once the vessel has left shore. IDP provides the benefit of continuous and uniform coverage, unlike many radio systems that are often limited by distance and weather that can degrade the quality of service. We've seen this as particularly true for many offshore oil and gas applications, where they need constant communications with supply vessels that ship board offshore rigs. Ship-to-shore communications allow customers to forego expensive satellite phones, but still keep in contact. You can also speed commercial processes by sending forms, emails, electronic docs. Finally, you can leverage the broadcast feature to send weather and ocean chart updates. Like in the land transportation sector, IDP terminals offer a low-cost option to comply with government regulations. The service can support the collection and transmission of fishing data for electronic catch reporting, as well as transmit position information for fishing vessel monitoring systems, or VMS. In terms of optimizing the use of maritime vessels, IsatData Pro is increasingly being used to monitor the performance of vessels to increase fuel efficiency. So ensuring that the vessels are being driven at slower speeds to decrease fuel usage, ensure vessel engines are working at optimal performance, and more. And finally, IsatData Pro is being used to track fishing buoys and other environmental buoys. For fixed assets like those in the oil and gas and utility sectors, IsatData Pro is used on equipment like generators and compressors. The terminal is used to send field data information like critical events, data trends, and diagnostic files. The benefit of the satellite solution is that it works anywhere in the world, and using a web-based application, you can react to events within seconds. The IsatData Pro terminal is an extension to SCADA systems. So not only does it provide the supervisory and data acquisition component, it can provide the control portion. So it can be used to close valves, turn on lights, shut off pumps, and more. And finally, there's the aspect of staying in contact with remote workers. Satellite terminals provide the complete communication link in order to comply with health and safety and environmental programs. And not only for safety, it can also be used for optimizing business operations, so sending service tickets, inventory management information, billing records, and more. So many applications for the oil and gas, utility, and mining sector. Well, this concludes our webinar on the basics of IsatData Pro. I hope you found this webinar informative and are armed with information that will help drive initiatives that will optimize business processes and reduce costs. A couple of parting thoughts. IsatData Pro is the only satellite messaging service that offers the ability to send more data faster. So as mentioned earlier in the webinar, the capacity to send large files allows the transmission of diagnostic and prognostic information from SCADA equipment or heavy equipment. It's also a global service, so the same solution is implemented anywhere in the world, and that simplifies development and installation. The second thought is that the service is highly flexible and can support multiple applications in the transportation, maritime, oil and gas, utilities, and mining sectors. So tracking the location of vehicles, sending text messages to remote workers, sending logistics information, transferring files and forms with remote workers, and finally telemetry information for remote equipment is all very possible with IsatData Pro. If you would like to try the IsatData Pro service, contact us to learn more about the IsatData Pro Evaluation Kit. To learn more about how our satellite terminals are used in a variety of tracking, monitoring, control applications, please visit our case study section on skywave.com. A link can be found on the webinar playback page. For more information, please visit us at skywave.com. You can also send us specific questions via email at marketing@skywave.com. Finally, we post a lot of industry news and Skywave updates through our Twitter feed, and our handle is @SkywavMobile. On behalf of Skywave, thank you once again for your participation, and we hope to hear from you again.